in this episode, we're looking at the statement from our anti-terror police, which is a bit strange in the way it's worded, and ask the question, why are the media dealing with this in a peculiar way, and what has actually happened to the 3 suspects who have been arrested with connections to this incident. So the first thing I'll do is I'll look at the actual statement that's got my eyebrows raised. And this is from, as you'll see here, the Counter Terrorism Policing. And it was last night, just after 9 o'clock, they put out this statement. And it says the investigation into the attack outside the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in North Manchester this morning continues. We can confirm that 3 suspects are currently in custody and have been arrested on suspicion of commission, preparation and instigation of acts of terrorism. They are 2 men in their 30s and a woman in their 60s. Scenes remain in place in White House Avenue, Crumps Hall and Langley Crescent in Prestwich, which are also linked to the arrests. So here's another strange comment to make. We are now able to confirm, although formal identification is yet to take place, we believe the person responsible for today's attack is 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami. This is very strange, but he is a British citizen of Syrian descent. Now, what Syrian descent means and suggests is that your family come from Syria, not you. And that he is a British citizen. So if you read that quickly and didn't actually look at any other information, you would believe this man was born in Britain of Syrian descent. That's how we describe such things. However, what is true is Jihad al-Shami was born in Syria and came here, some believe, in 2006 from Syria. Therefore, he is Syrian. He's not British and he's not of Syrian descent. He is Syrian, full stop. And if his age is correct at 35, that would suggest he came here as a 16-year-old. Almost half his life has been spent in Syria. But the way this is written, we have to believe that he is a British citizen, and the way it's worded, you would believe that he was born here. So he isn't. He's an immigrant. But for some reason, the decision has been made, and this has been followed up by numerous media outlets, that this person responsible is British. And that's a myth. And I believe that myth has came squarely from this counter-terrorism statement. But the odd thing in here is what is happening here. Now, right now, it tells you they are arrested. So they're not charged. Until they're charged and appear in court, then there is no subjudice. Is it subjudice? Is that the right word to say? Behind me is Glasgow Sheriff Court, one of Europe's busiest courts. And because of that fact, we'll see every week several members of the public and podcasters, etc., facing trials in here for a number of things. However, an increasing number are for posts on social media, videos on YouTube, etc., etc., etc. And for that reason and that reason alone, I believe it would make sense for everybody who does podcasts as a minimum to join the Free Speech Union, because they will help protect you when the law turns on you. That doesn't give you carte blanche to say what you want as a member, but it does give you the protection to help you when the law goes wrong. This is not now only something that should be considered by podcasters, because we are seeing more and more people each day arrested. Normal people who don't even see themselves as civilian journalists arrested for posts on social media. So it makes sense to join the Free Speech Union, because we live in this country in 2025. Because there is no case. But nobody in the media is doing anything to figure out who these people are. Another thing I find quite strange with the media is how they are reporting on this, which has been described by the anti-terror police as a terror attack, which is pretty weird. And today, we've also found out, as if we just, found out by accident, that 3 men remain in hospital. One sustained a stab wound, second was struck by a car involving Nick, and a third man later presented himself at hospital with an injury that may have been sustained as officers stopped the attacker. Turns out that the latest news would suggest that 2 men were behind the door barricading the synagogue and appeared to have been shot by the police when they're trying to take down the assailant. One of those appears to have passed away, and that is horrific. But don't be fooled, because some will have you believe that this is the fault of Greater Manchester Police. Now, until we realise and we know the full circumstances of this, that's pretty bonkers to say. The only thing we do know is these people are dead and injured because of a terror attack in a synagogue. Not because the police turned up at a synagogue and started shooting people. The police turned up at a synagogue to deal with a guy who appeared to have a bomb which turned out to be fake, but he's presented himself outside a synagogue in a threatening manner. He's already stabbed somebody, he's already knocked somebody down, and he's standing at a door, and the police took him out. That's what happened. So these people that have been injured and unfortunately died from what appears to be gunshot wounds, it's no anybody else's fault than the perpetrator of the crime. They are unfortunately horrific bystanders to a crime and have been, as it would appear, horrifically maimed and killed. But what I'm saying about the press is, so now what we know is, we know that this man is Syrian. He's not born in Britain. We know by his name that his name means jihad, and al-Shami basically translates to of Syria. So his name is the jihadi Syrian. That in itself is just pretty bonkers, right? And we've already seen people like Hamza Yousaf, the ex-First Minister of Scotland, tries to suggest that this has got nothing to do with Islam. Well, this must be the first sectarian murders ever to happen in the history of the world, where the person that committed them was not doing it for religious intent. Think about it for a minute. But we've got people trying to suggest otherwise. Now, if this is a terror act, and it's an obvious terror act against, a sectarian terror act against one religion, I think it's safe to assume that the other 3 people who have been arrested are of the same mind as the perpetrator. We don't know their names, we don't know their nationalities, we don't know their religions, but I think it's fair to assume that when such a sectarian murder has taken place, then they must not be of that religion, and they're most likely of the same religion as the perpetrator. But the press want to totally ignore this, because what I'll show you here is, this is me putting into Google a simple question. What group carried out the attack at the Manchester Synagogue? Not one mention of the group who carried out this attack at a Manchester Synagogue. They don't want to pigeonhole this group as anything, but it's blindly obvious that a terror attack of sectarian nature has got to be religiously motivated. Otherwise, it's not a sectarian terror attack. But there's no paper anywhere mentioning this group, or even investigating this group. In fact, there's very few even mentioning the other 3 arrests. Now, what I want to do is, I want to show you another search that I've done on Google a few seconds before coming online. And what I've done here is, I said, what group protested in London on the 30th of September? Now, we all know it was United Kingdom. The banners were all over the place. But how was that reported in the press? Well, here's how it was reported in the press. Far right. march against fascism. That's not newspaper, that's stand up to racism. Public broadcaster, far right. BBC is just using the name there, but if you go into it, the headline doesn't say far right, but everything else says clashes in London with far right. Far right. So it seems to me that the press are quite happy to pigeonhole certain groups when they are reporting news, but not others. And that is absolutely bonkers. And I can only see a driven agenda for the reasons for that. So if you want others to see this video, click the thumbs up, put your comments below and hit the share button. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. However, more important than all that, unless you're the type of person that thinks it's okay to go to any place of worship in the United Kingdom and murder people as a group, not as a single standalone lone wolf, right? And if your actions require, this is something that disgusted me when I seen the story. The most horrific part of the story is obviously the murder of innocent people. However, the fact in the story that there was a security guard murdered. We need security at places of worship in the United Kingdom. That's not society I want. However, unless you're any of these people, well, not you, but everyone else, try and have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.